Now, again we are going for the next option in a modeling. Say modeling. In modeling, we are now knowing for a move and a modify. Next comes over here as a copy. So what exactly the copy is and what exactly the difference in between move and a copy. So again we are going to create for a key points over here. So we can use these two options according to the limitations and advantages. Say click over here. We are having a key points. Now we are going to create for a few lines over here. A line according to the desired orientation, and now we are going to create for a few areas over here with respect to the key points in arbitrary option. So we are having two different areas with respect to key points, and we are having different key points over here. So we are very well familiar with respect to the move. Now we are going to see for a copy option. Say copy. Now I can go for a copy with respect to the same like your key points, line, areas and a volume. So when we are going for a move option, we are moving our original geometry. So check the distance over here. So if I am going to move for a key point, say single click over here. Say once we are going for a single click, select that particular location, say OK. We are going to move this particular key point in x direction by an increment of a 0.5. Just say OK. Right click and a replot. So switch on for the numbering, we can check the difference in a very well manner. So switch on for key point, line and area numbers, say OK. Check for a key point motion. Over here I am going to move for a 15 number key point over here with the help of copy over here. Copy that particularly 15 number key point in y direction with respect to the 0.5 distance. Just say OK. So when we are copying this particular point over here, we are getting one new point over here having an 18 number by an increment of 0.5 in a respective direction. But our original point is not going to move from its location. It will create a new key point over here according to the given specification. So we are having two different key points over here which we are going to use with respect to the geometry requirements. So this is the difference in move and a copy. When we are copying for an lines, say plot and a multiplot. We are going over here and say copy for this particular line number 1. Just say OK. When we are copying over here, if I am suppose copying for this particular line with respect to the x distance 0.5 and just say OK. Now we are having line again 1 over here, blue line highlighted. But our line number 1 is intact. We are not going to bother or we are not going to disturb our dimensions or coordinate location with respect to the original line, but still we are getting a new line according to the specification with respect to the same orientation whatever its parent geometry is having. The geometry might be anything. We can apply these logic for 1D, 2D or 3D cases with respect to the geometrical entity. Otherwise we can go for a move or a modify option with respect to the nodes and key elements. So go for a copy option with respect to the area. If I am going to copy for an area number 2, presently we are having only 2 areas on the screen. When we are copying for one of the area from that one, so I am copying for an area number 2 over here at an x distance of 0.5 and just say OK. Now I am having again one area number 3 over here. So in that way you are going to get a new geometrical entity with respect to the same configurations and the same orientation, but at a specified location according to the desire. So in that ways we are going to copy over here, and in move we are going to move our original geometry according to the given specification with respect to the x, y and z orientation. So this is the way we are going to get for a geometry with respect to copy and move and modify option. Next option comes for this particularly over here is a reflect. So when we need to reflect any geometry, when we are knowing it is an axisymmetric model, so go for that particularly, say OK. If I am going to create an exact square over here, say create area with respect to the rectangle option, keeping it over here with respect to the two corner ways. Otherwise we can go for center and corner, any method we are going to apply over here. So go for center and corner. I am going to create one area over here having a 1 and a 1. dimension, so exactly square we are having, we are going to divide this particularly at the start over here. So operate booleans, divide our working plane with respect to the working plane over here. So switch on the display, see this working plane in a line plot. So now we are knowing we need exactly vertical one cut and a horizontal one cut. We are going to use only quarter model over here. So go for that particularly, I need to make for a horizontal cut. So I need my cutting edge parallel to that particular cutting line over here in a horizontal ways. So I'm going to again in a working plane offset it by an increment. Without forgetting, we should change this particularly 30 degrees to the 90 degrees, because by default orientation goes for a 30 degrees. So we are needing to rotate an x-axis by a 90 degrees over here. So we are going to rotate that one over here. Once we are rotating either in a positive or a negative, whatever it might be, in a clockwise or an anti-clockwise, that doesn't affect your cutting edge. Just say okay. Now divide our working plane, or divide our area by a working plane. So select it over here and just say okay. Once we are dividing it with respect to this particularly, now we are knowing we are going to rotate over here with respect to one axis, but we are needing again one vertical cut exactly perpendicular to the original cut what we are already having with us. So our XY orientation is aligned with respect to this orientation. So if we are again going for the rotation of this particularly with respect to our Y axis by 90 degree over here either in a clock or anti-clockwise direction, just say okay, and again divide our area by working plane. Select it and just say okay. Now we are having exactly 4 similar squares over here. So now I am going to delete these. Say delete area and below. Just say okay. Now we are having only one over here with respect to this particularly. But we are knowing our original geometry was with respect to something else dimensions. We are having only quarter portion of that one. So it will be easier if it is a very critical model, and that too if it is symmetrical with respect to our X and Y orientation. So we should go for this particularly and check for the option over here is a reflect. I'm knowing I need a same over here. Change our active coordinate system with respect to the working plane and align our working plane with respect to this global coordinate system. Just say right click and a replot. So go for a reflection of this particularly, say reflect this particular area and just say okay. Now we are going to need over here that we are going to needing x-axis is over here, and I am going to create one area attached to this particularly over here. So I can reflect this particularly with respect to my y and z plane. Just say okay. So we are going to reflect over here in a new area. We are not going to disturb this particularly. So now we are knowing these two areas we are needing to attach at this particular bottom edge. So again we are going for this over here. Select the two areas. Just say okay. Now I'm going to reflect these two things with respect to my y axis, otherwise we can say x and a z orientation, and without forgetting we should keep it over here as a copied. If we are going for a moved option, so it will move our original orientation. So in that ways we can go for copied over here and just say okay. So now if we are going to reflect it in this way, so in that ways we are going to get an original geometry back over here. So in this ways we are going to use our reflect option for key point, line, area, volume. All these are your geometrical entities. If it is going for finite element entity, so in this way we are going to use for each and everything. But while reflecting, we must be cautious about which plane we are going to reflect it. So in this way we should go for that one. So once our reflect is over, we are not knowing exactly what is the distance in between these two in some cases. So I need to check my geometry over here. So next option comes for that particularly is check our geometry. So in check geometry we are knowing we need to calculate for a distance between first to second and second to third. So we are going to check our distance with the help of a key point. So check the distance with the help of key points over here. Select over here one key point, and once we are clicking for the next one, we are going to get a distance printed over here. select I need a distance in between these two. Just say OK over here. Here we are having two key points separately because we are having one area reflected over here with the help of a reflect option. So select that proper key point and say OK. And again say OK. We are having a distance in between these two. The distance is given over here as a 0.5. Don't bother about what x. Its coordinate locations are given with respect to x, y and z. But we are going to calculate for a distance which will be highlighted in the first column itself as a distance option. So in this way we are going to calculate. If we are needing a distance from the center, we can calculate from that one to here in a diagonal ways, horizontal ways, vertical ways, whatever. So in this way we are going to get an unknown distance with the help of check geometry options. So these are the ways we are going to use our modeling options with respect to the key points. If it is having a nodal distance, so we are going for a nodal distance. If we are having two nodes plotted over here, if we are not knowing the distance in between these two, so we will go for the nodal distance over there. So this is the way we are going to check our geometry over here. So in next session we are going to see for the next option to the modeling is meshing. So what is the need of meshing and what are the different types we are going to get for that.